I stared at the mirror. My forehead was swollen. A purple lump the size of a golf ball throbbing right above my eye. I touched it gently, hissing through my teeth. Fuck, that hurts. But the pain was good. The pain meant I was alive. It meant the impossible had happened. I was back in my last life. My husband, Richard. Me. Until my heart stopped. I was nothing but a punching bag for his twisted family. But now I looked at the calendar. I was 18 again. It was the day after I married that abusive prick. A twisted maniacal laugh bubbled up from my throat. God really does have a sick sense of humor, giving me a second round. But listen here, you son of a bitch. I'm not walking down the same road. Anyone who tried to screw me over last time is going to pay. With interest. Hey, skank. Get your ass in the kitchen and make us food. You trying to starve us? The bedroom door was kicked open. Slamming against the wall. Three little bastards strutted in like they own the place. Axe. Ace and Diesel, ages 7, 9 and 11. Richard spawned from his dead ex-wife. Knowing what I know now, his ex-wife's death wasn't an accident. It was an escape. I stared at them deadpan. In my past life, these three hell spawns made my life a living hell. They tear their own clothes. Run out to the neighbors. In the trailer park. Screaming that I was starving them. That the evil stepmom was beating them. They turned the whole neighborhood against me. I took beatings from Richard because of their lies. Specifically the lump on my head right now. That was their handiwork last night. An introduction to the family. They called it, huh? Last time I tried to kill them with kindness. What a waste of time. I stood up slowly. Not saying a word, and walked to the door. That's right, bitch. Diesel, the oldest, sneered. You're the new mommy. You clean our shit. You feed us. If we aren't happy, we tell Daddy and Nana Brenda that you hit us. They'll beat you death. I smiled a cold, predatory smile. I slammed the bedroom door shut and locked it. Click. Then I grabbed Richard's heavy leather belt hanging off the chair. What? What are you doing? Ace stammered. I didn't answer. I just whipped the belt through the air. Crack. Let's see who dies first, I whispered. I swung with everything I had. The heavy brass buckle caught Diesel right on the arm. He screamed like a banshee. I didn't hold back. I didn't care. They were kids. They were monsters in training. The belt whistled in the air. Whack, crack, smack. Red welts bloomed instantly on their skin. They scrambled around the small room like rats in a cage. Knocking over lamps, screaming for help. Ah, stop. It hurts. Daddy. Nana, save me. Open the door. Fuck. Help. Their screams were music to my ears. It made my blood pump faster. I whipped them harder, putting my entire body weight into every swing. I thought you said I abused you. I yelled over their cries. Well, guess what? You were right. Here's a taste of the real thing. You little shits. The noise was loud enough to wake the dead. Sure enough, heavy footsteps thundered down the hall. What the hell is going on in there? You little slut. Open this door. It was Brenda, Big Brenda. Richard's mother. A 300-pound linebacker of a woman with a mouth like a sailor. And she wasn't alone. The nosy neighbors from the complex were gathering. This place was basically a slum. The walls were paper thin and everyone loved a good domestic dispute. Open up. She's killing the kids. Oh, my God. Look at her, someone yelled from outside the window. She's whipping them like dogs. That new wife is psycho. Hit him harder. Someone else laughed. They could see through the window. But the bars kept them out. I ignored them all. I kept swinging until my arms started to burn. The three boys were huddled in the corner, shaking. Snot running down their faces. Terrified to make a sound. I looked at the door, which was starting to crack. From Brenda throwing her massive weight against it. I tossed the belt on the bed. Unlocked the door and swung it open. Brenda stumbled. In sweating and red-faced. She immediately grabbed her grandbabies. I leaned against the door frame, fixing my messy hair, and addressed the crowd of gawking neighbors. Sorry for the noise, folks, I said loudly. Just doing a little parenting. Spare the rod. Spoil the child, right? I pointed to the massive purple bruise on my forehead. See this? These 3 angels smashed my head in yesterday. I've been married less than 48 hours. And they're already trying to kill me. If I don't discipline them now, they'll be in juvie by next week. I looked at them dead in the eye. And I have a legal obligation to raise them right. The neighbors gasped. The bruise was undeniable. It looked nasty. Damn. Look at that knot on her head. One guy muttered. Those kids have always been little bastards. True. They threw a brick at my windshield last week. Another woman chimed in. Maybe she's right. Someone needed to switch their asses. The tide was turning. Brenda saw it, too. She was furious. No one was defending her precious grand spawn. You lying little whore, Brenda screeched. She charged at me, raising a hand the size of a ham hock. Brenda was huge, fat, slow and clumsy. I watched her lumber toward me in slow motion. I simply sidestepped. Whoosh. She missed completely, dripping over her own feet and face planting onto the hardwood floor. With a massive thud, the whole trailer shook. Whoops, I laughed. It isn't even Christmas, Brenda. You don't need to bow to me yet. The hallway erupted in laughter. Brenda's face turned purple. She scrambled up, humiliated, and slammed the front door, shutting the neighbors out. All right, you little skank, she hissed, grabbing a thick wooden broom handle from the corner. You touch my grandkids, you make a fool of me. I'm gonna beat the life out of you. I didn't flinch. I walked calmly to the kitchen, grabbed the meat cleaver from the counter and turned around. Try me, bitch. Brenda froze, but anger overtook her brain cells. She swung the stick. I didn't run. I ducked, grabbing the other end of the stick and yanked it hard. Brenda was heavy, but she was all flab. No muscle. I, on the other hand, had years of pent-up rage fueling me. I ripped the stick from her hands. Now she was unarmed and I had a cleaver. Run, piggy, run, I whispered. She screamed and tried to waddle away, knocking over chairs. Didn't hack her. Not yet. But I chased her around the living room until her lungs gave out. She collapsed on the dirty carpet, wheezing like a broken accordion. I didn't hesitate. I sat right on top of her massive chest, pinning her down. In my last life, this woman treated me lower than dirt. I was her slave. If I missed a spot cleaning, she slapped me. If I cooked the steak wrong, she pulled my hair. I dropped the knife and started throwing hands. Slap. Slap, slap. I focused on her cheeks, left, right, left, right. I slapped her until my palms stung. She howled like a stuck pig, but she was too exhausted to buck me off. When her face was swollen enough to match her body, I stopped panting. I thought you were gonna teach me a lesson, Brenda. Huh? Use your words. I grabbed the cleaver again and pressed the flat side against her neck. The cold steel made her shudder violently. Please don't, she mumbled through her fat lips. Listen to me, you old hag. I'm done being your punching bag. You maximize your drama one more time, and I'll carve you up like a Thanksgiving turkey, understand? I raised the knife high and brought it down hard next to her ear, burying it into the floorboards. Ah, her eyes rolled back and she passed out cold. A sharp ammonia smell filled the air. She pissed herself. Disgusting. I spat. Coward. A total paper tiger. I stood up, wiping my hands. The 3 boys were huddled in the corner again, terrified, staring at me like I was the devil himself. Don't move, I commanded. They froze. I stepped over Brenda's unconscious body and marched straight into her bedroom. Brenda controlled the money in this house. She was a hoarder. I knew exactly where she kept the good stuff. I tore the room apart. 2 heavy gold bracelets. Pocket gold chains, diamond rings. Pocket a stack of cash hidden under the mattress. Pocket an expensive jade bangle she stole from her sister. Pocket. Then I found the bank books. Useless without ID, so I shredded them. I cut her credit cards into confetti. But that wasn't enough. I saw her smartphone on the nightstand. I knew her passcodes. I knew her payment pins. In the last life, she made me do all the technology stuff. Because she was too old to learn. Never thinking I'd have the guts to steal. I unlocked her phone. Venmo. PayPal, Cash App. Bank transfer. I drained everything. Every cent went into my secret account. Thousands of dollars gone in seconds. I deleted the transaction history and the apps. I packed a bag, just the essentials. I walked back out. Brenda was still out cold in a puddle of her own urine. The boys were still shaking. If you tell anyone, I said cheerfully. I come back at night and I bring the knife. I slammed the front door and walked out into the sunshine. First stop, food. Food. I bought a massive burger and fries. Real food, not the scraps they fed me. I ate like a starving wolf. While I ate, I planned. Richard was out of town on business for a week. I had 7 days. I needed to settle a score with the people who sold me to him. My biological family. I hailed a cab. Take me to the Southside Projects. I stood in front of a rusted metal door in a rundown apartment complex. This was where it all began. My father, Daryl. And my stepmother, Sharon. Sharon was the reason I married Richard. She broke her deal. She took the money. I pounded on the door. It opened. Sharon stood there, heavy makeup on her aging face. Looking confused. Scarlett. What are you? I didn't let her finish. I grabbed a handful of her bleached hair and dragged her into the hallway. Sharon screeched, her heels skidding on the linoleum as I hauled her into the apartment. It smelled like stale beer and cheap menthols, the scent of my childhood. Daryl, she screamed, clawing at my wrist. Her nails were fake, glued on plastic. They snapped off against my skin. Daryl, get the gun. She's crazy. My father, Daryl, shuffled out of the living room, wearing nothing but stained boxers and a wife-beater. He held a can of Pabst, not a gun. His eyes went wide when he saw me. Not because he was happy to see his daughter, but because he saw the look in my eyes. It was the look of a creditor coming to collect. Scarlett. He burped, wiping foam from his lip. You're supposed to be on your honeymoon. Did Richard kick you out already? We spent the money, girl. No refunds. No refunds, I repeated, my voice dropping an octave. I shoved Sharon. She stumbled back, tripping over a pile of old newspapers and landing hard on her ass. I kicked the door shut behind me and deadbolted. That's exactly what I'm here to talk about, Daddy. I walked further into the room. It was a shrine to mediocrity and failure. But on the coffee table, I saw it. A brand new 60-inch flat-screen TV, still in the box. A stack of scratch-off tickets. A bottle of top-shelf whiskey. $50,000, I said. That's what Richard paid you. A dowry, you called it. A sale, I call it. It was a gift. Sharon shrieked, scrambling to her feet, adjusting her leopard print blouse. To help us in our old age. We raised you. We fed you. You fed me scraps and raised me to be a servant, I corrected. I walked to the kitchen. The layout was burned into my memory. I opened the freezer. Hey. Stay out of there. Daryl lunged. In my last life, I would have flinched. I would have cowered. Today, I grabbed a glass bottle of ketchup from the counter and swung it backhand without looking. Smash. It connected with Daryl's nose. A sickening crunch echoed, followed by a howl of agony. He dropped to his knees, blood and ketchup mixing on his chest. You broke my nose. You bitch. I ignored him and reached into the back of the freezer, behind the bags of frozen peas. I pulled out a heavy, foil-wrapped brick. They didn't trust banks. They never had. I unwrapped it on the counter. Stacks of hundreds. Richard's money. Most of it was still there. That's ours. Sharon lunged for me, her eyes wild with greed. I grabbed her by the throat. I didn't squeeze, I just held her there, arm extended, pinning her against the fridge. Listen to me, Sharon. In 3 days, Richard is going to come back. And when he finds out what I did to his mother, how I beat her, humiliated her, and drained her accounts, he's going to come looking for someone to blame. I leaned in close. He's going to think you were in on it. He's going to think you scammed him. You took his money, and your daughter destroyed his family. Sharon went pale. Darryl stopped groaning, looking up with terror. They knew Richard. They knew the kind of men he associated with. He'll kill us, Darryl whispered. He absolutely will, I smiled. Unless you leave. Now. I shoved Sharon away. I took half the stack of cash, about 20 grand, and shoved it into my bag. I left them the rest. You have 1 hour to pack and get out of the state, I said, stepping over Darryl's bleeding form. If you're here when he lands, don't tell him I didn't warn you. I walked to the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. Oh, and Daddy. He looked up, clutching his face. Happy Father's Day. I checked into a motel 3 towns over using a fake ID I'd bought from a contact I remembered from my past life, a shady paralegal named Saul who worked out of a laundromat. For the next 4 days, I didn't sleep. I prepared. In my previous life, I had learned the hard way that Richard wasn't just an abuser, he was a criminal. He ran a logistics company that moved stolen auto parts across state lines. He was paranoid, arrogant, and sloppy. I bought a burner laptop and a high-gain antenna. I parked outside his warehouse at 3 a.m. I knew his passwords. Admin 123. God King. The man had an ego the size of Texas and the cybersecurity sense of a toddler. I downloaded everything. The ledgers, the emails, the photos of the stripped cars. I set up a deadman switch. If I didn't enter a code every 24 hours, this entire file would go to the FBI, the IRS, and the local news. But prison wasn't enough. Prison was too good for Richard. I needed him to feel fear. On the 5th day, I went to a hardware store. I bought heavy-duty zip ties, duct tape, a bag of lime, and a nail gun. I put it all in the trunk of a rental car, a nondescript gray sedan. Then, I went shopping for myself. I bought a white dress. Silk. Elegant. The kind of dress a trophy wife wears. I drove back to the trailer park on the 6th day. It was quiet. The neighbors were avoiding the place. The windows were dark. Brenda had likely fled to her sister's house, and the boys were probably in CPS custody or with another relative after the incident. I broke in through the back window. The smell of ammonia and fear still lingered. I cleaned. I scrubbed the floors. I fixed the furniture. I made the place look pristine. I set the table for 2. I put a steak on the counter to thaw. Then, I sat in the dark living room, the nail gun resting on my lap, and I waited. Richard's truck pulled into the driveway at 11 p.m. I heard the heavy idle of the engine, the door slam, the heavy boots on the wooden steps. He tried his key. It worked. He walked in, dropping his duffel bag. He looked exhausted. He obviously hadn't spoken to his mother yet. He didn't know. Scarlett, he bellowed, loosening his tie. Where's my dinner? And why the hell is the porch light out? I clicked the lamp on. I was sitting in the armchair, wearing the white silk dress. My legs were crossed. I looked every inch the dutiful wife, except for the pneumatic nail gun in my right hand. Hello, Richard, I said softly. He blinked, confused. Then his eyes narrowed. He saw the gun. What the fuck is that? Put that down. You think you're funny? He took a step toward me. The old Richard. The bully. He expected me to flinch. Thwump. I pulled the trigger. A 3-inch framing nail buried itself in the floorboards, an inch from his boot. He jumped back, colliding with the door. Are you insane? Sit down, Richard. I pointed the muzzle at his kneecap. The chair. Now. He looked at the nail, then at my face. He saw the bruising on my forehead, the lump his son had given me. But he also saw something else. He saw the void. Slowly, hands raised, he sat in the wooden dining chair. Okay, he said, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. Okay, babe. You're upset. The kids gave you a hard time. I'll handle them. Put the gun down. The kids are gone, Richard. Brenda is gone. Sharon and Daryl are gone. I stood up, keeping the aim steady. I know about the chop shop. I know about the laundering. I have the files. Richard's face went from red to chalk white. You don't know what you're talking about. I know that in my last life, you pushed me down these stairs in 5 years, I lied, partially. I know you strangled me when I threatened to leave. I know everything. I tossed a folder onto his lap. Copies of his ledgers. He stared at them. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. What do you want? He whispered. Money? You want a divorce? I want a divorce, I nodded. But I also want a settlement. I walked around him. He was tense, ready to spring. I want everything, Richard. The house. The accounts. The warehouse. You're going to sign it all over to me. Tonight. And if I don't? Then I send the email. You go to federal prison for 20 years. And while you're inside, I'll tell the Latin Kings exactly who skimmed off their shipment last month. Richard flinched. I had guessed right. The missing money in the ledger wasn't an accounting error, he was stealing from his partners. You're a demon, he hissed. I'm a wife, I corrected. Now, sign. I placed the papers on the table. He reached for a pen from his pocket. That was the moment. I knew it was coming. The muscular twitch in his shoulder. He didn't grab the pen. He lunged, flipping the table. The table crashed into me, knocking the nail gun from my hand. It skid across the floor. Richard was on me instantly. He was heavy, smelling of sweat and cheap cologne. His hands wrapped around my throat. You bitch, he screamed, spit flying into my face. You think you can blackmail me? I'll kill you. I'll kill you right now. My vision began to spot. The pressure was immense. This was how I died before. Helpless. Weak. But I wasn't 25 anymore. I was 18. And I had prepared. I reached into the pocket of my silk dress. My hand closed around the small canister of bear mace. I shoved it directly into his left eye and pressed the trigger. Hisses. Richard screamed, a primal, gurgling sound. He let go of my throat, clawing at his face. The orange liquid coated his eyes, his nose, his mouth. I rolled out from under him, gasping for air. I coughed, my throat burning, but the adrenaline surged like high-voltage electricity. He was thrashing on the floor, blinded. My eyes. God. Help. I grabbed the heavy cast-iron skillet from the stove. It was cold and heavy. Richard. I yelled. He turned toward my voice, weeping, red snot running down his face. This is for the lump on my head, I said. Clang. I swung the skillet with both hands. It connected with the side of his head. He dropped like a stone. Silence returned to the trailer. I stood over him, chest heaving. He was breathing, shallow and ragged. Unconscious. I looked at the clock. 11:14 p.m. I had choices. I could kill him. I could finish it. But then I'd be a murderer on the run. I looked at the chaotic scene. The overturned table. The nail gun. The files. I had a better idea. I picked up the nail gun. I walked over to the wall near the door and fired 2 shots into the drywall, aiming from outside in. Then I took Richard's own gun, a .38 special I knew he kept in his ankle holster, and wiped it clean. I pressed his limp hand around it. I fired a shot into the ceiling. Then I took the skillet and smashed my own arm. I grit my teeth, screaming silently as the bone fractured. Crack. Pain. White-hot pain. But necessary. I ripped my silk dress. I smeared some of the blood from Richard's head onto my face. I kicked the phone off the hook. I lay down in the corner, sobbing, hyperventilating, forcing myself into a panic attack. Then, I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? My husband, I screamed, my voice cracking perfectly. He's back. He's crazy. He has a gun. He tried to kill me. I hit him. I think I killed him. Please, help me. 6 months later. The funeral was a small affair. Mostly business associates who wanted to make sure he was actually dead, and a few neighbors who just wanted to gossip. Big Brenda didn't show up. She was in a state-run nursing home, muttering about demons. The stepsons had been split up into foster care. Ace had sent me a letter once. I burned it. I stood by the grave, wearing a black veil and a fitted black dress. I looked tragic. I looked beautiful. The police investigation had been brief. The physical evidence was overwhelming. A battered young wife defending herself against a husband with a history of violence and criminal ties. The Latin Kings connection I leaked anonymously ensured the cops didn't look too hard, they were just glad a bad guy was off the streets. I walked back to my car, a brand new Mercedes G-Wagon. I checked my phone. The bank transfer had cleared. The life insurance. The sale of the warehouse. The hidden accounts I had discovered for the IRS in exchange for immunity. $3 million. I sat in the driver's seat and looked in the rearview mirror. The bruise on my forehead was long gone. My arm had healed perfectly. I was 19 years old. I was rich. I was free. I put the car in drive and pulled out of the cemetery. As I passed the gate, I saw a golf course. I smiled, a cold, predatory curve of the lips. I whispered. I turned up the radio and drove into my new life, leaving the ghosts in the dirt where they belonged. The game was over. And this time, I won.